I remember buying this record. Best Buy, because that was the only place you could get it. We'll get to why. And I remember thinking, this is actually happening. Because for most of my life, this album was a joke. The thing that never came out. Here's what I found out. Almost every step toward releasing it involved someone getting sued or arrested. This is a band at war. 10 fights, 1 album. Let's go. Number 10. Buckethead's exit turned into a defection nobody saw coming. Okay, this is the one I always forget started as a business story before it became a "where did the guy in the bucket go" story. By early 2004, Buckethead had been in and out of the Chinese democracy sessions for years. And I mean, this is a guy who reportedly asked for a chicken coop in the studio so he'd feel comfortable enough to play. That's not me being dramatic for effect. That's a real request from a real recording session, and I love that about him, honestly. It tells you something about the whole environment this album got made in. But by March of 2004, he was done. He quit, and the band had to pull out of the massive Rock in Rio festival in Lisbon because of it. A 2-weekend event, with over 70 acts booked, and Guns N' Roses had to walk away from it over one guitarist's departure. Axl put out a public statement, an actual press statement, calling Buckethead inconsistent and erratic, and specifically noting that this was despite being under contract. That's not a guy venting about a breakup. That's someone establishing a legal position, in public, for the record. And here's the part I did not know until I started digging, and I wish I had known sooner. Axl publicly speculated that Buckethead was planning to sign with Sanctuary Records, which was, at the time, the band's own label, and that he intended to use his time in Guns N' Roses to promote his individual solo career on the way out the door. Whether or not that's exactly what was happening in Buckethead's head, think about what that accusation actually is. It's not he left the band, it's he used our business relationship, our label, our name, to go build something of his own. That's not a breakup between bandmates jamming in a garage. That's a war between the guy behind the mask and the machine he was walking out of. Management, contracts, and all. Number 9. Robin Finck's contract ran out, and he went straight back to the enemy camp. Here's the thing about this one that nobody talks about enough. Robin Finck wasn't just some session guy who wandered in and out for a few months. This is someone who recorded for years on Chinese Democracy, toured with the band throughout 2006, and by most accounts was considered a genuine, load-bearing member of that lineup. And then, in the summer of 2008, right as this album was finally, actually approaching release, his 2-year contract with Guns N' Roses expired. And he didn't renew it, he walked straight back to 9 Inch Nails. I need to tell you something about how that landed, because it wasn't quiet. Guns N' Roses' own camp put out a public statement acknowledging that Finck's decision caught, in their own words, everyone in Guns, as well as our fans, a bit off guard. Think about what it means for a band to say that publicly. That's an admission, on the record, that they didn't see their own guitarist's exit coming, at the worst possible moment, while trying to finally get this thing out the door after over a decade. And I know you have had a version of this experience. Not with a rock band, obviously, but that specific feeling when someone you've built years of work alongside just leaves, on a timeline that has nothing to do with you, and everything to do with a piece of paper they signed long before you even knew them. There's nothing personal about it, and somehow that makes it worse. Here's the part that still gets me. Trent Reznor wasn't exactly warm about the arrangement in the first place. There was real documented tension over Fink spending those years, in Reznor's own words, getting paid a lot of money to hang around Axl Rose instead of being part of Nine Inch Nails. So this wasn't just one guitarist quietly changing bands. This was two of the biggest names in the genre and a single contract, deciding who got to keep him. Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story. Number 8. Axl fired his manager and canceled shows and blamed it all on the record. There is one on this list where the story behind it changed how I hear the whole album. We'll get there, and I think it will do the same for you. This one's setting it up. December 2006. Axl posts an open letter to the fans. And I want you to really sit with the fact that a rock star had to write an open letter, publicly, just to explain a business decision to the people who loved his band. In it, he announces he's canceling 4 scheduled concerts set for January 2007. And he explains why, and I'm going to give you the substance of it carefully because the actual wording matters. Fulfilling those shows, he said, would have cost the band and the record company the valuable time they needed for the proper setup and release of Chinese Democracy. He's not saying the tour got canceled because of a health issue or a scheduling conflict or anything a fan would normally expect. He's saying the tour got canceled because of the album's business timeline. The record had gotten so large, so overdue, so expensive, that a scheduled international tour became something the band could no longer afford to honor. In that same letter, he confirms the band has officially split with their manager, Mercuriadis, and he places a significant amount of the blame for the years of delay directly on him, by name, in writing, for every fan to read. This is the part where it gets sad, because by this point, canceling shows wasn't a scheduling issue anymore. It was a symptom of something much bigger. The album had become this thing that ate everything around it. Tours, management relationships, timelines, whole years of the band's public life, and everyone standing near it eventually became collateral damage in the effort to finally finish it. Number 7. The band promised a firm release date and broke that promise almost immediately. I want you to sit with this one for a second, because it's such a specific, almost quiet kind of business failure. It's not a lawsuit, it's not an arrest, it's just a broken promise, made in public, over and over. In October 2006, Rolling Stone reported that Chinese Democracy finally had a firm release date, November 21st, 2006. Firm, that's the actual word being used at the time, by the industry press covering it. And then, that date came, and went, and the album simply didn't show up, with no real public explanation offered in the moment. Then, in Axl's own December 2006 letter, the same one where he announced the split with his manager, he names a brand new date, March 6, 2007, and he specifically points out that this was the first time the band had ever publicly committed to a release date at all in the entire history of making this record, which tells you something important. For over a decade before that moment, they hadn't even tried to promise fans a date, because on some level, everyone involved knew exactly what would happen if they did. And what happened? The March 2007 date got missed too. Even after the band's own road manager, Del James, put out a press release in February 2007 stating, definitively in his own words, that all recording for the album had been fully completed. And still, no album showed up that spring. I know what you're thinking right now because I thought it too, the first time I laid this timeline out start to finish. How do you tell your own fans, twice, in writing, on the record, it's actually happening this time, and have it not happen twice in a row? That's not artistic delay anymore. That's a credibility problem with your own audience. The exact kind of problem record labels spend entire careers trying to avoid. And Axl just kept walking straight into it, letter after letter. Number 6. Geffen Records looked at the bill and told Axl it wasn't their problem anymore. This is the one I mentioned. This is the one that changes how you hear the whole record. Because once you know this happened, you genuinely cannot unhear it in the music. By 2004, Guns N' Roses had reportedly spent somewhere around $13 million of Geffen's money making this album. $13 million. And that's before some of the most expensive years of production even happened yet. And in February of that year, Geffen sent a letter to the band's management containing what I think is one of the coldest sentences in modern music business history. They wrote, and I'm giving you the substance of it precisely because the wording is the whole point, that the band had exceeded all budgeted and approved recording costs by millions of dollars, and that going forward, it was Axl Rose's obligation, personally, to fund and complete the album, not Geffen's. I need you to actually picture that moment. The label that exists specifically to bankroll rock albums, the machine built for exactly this purpose, looked at Chinese democracy after nearly a decade of investment and said, "This is now your money, your gamble, your problem. We're done underwriting your perfectionism." And here's the part that still gets me every time I think about it. Axl didn't stop. He kept going, reportedly funding further studio time out of his own pocket after that letter arrived. Every string section after that point, every re-recorded guitar part, every additional year of studio time, that wasn't the label's bet anymore. That was one man's personal money, chasing something he refused to call finished. You already know what I'm going to say because you would have felt the same thing in his position. That letter is the exact moment this stopped being a band and label collaboration and became a solo war of attrition. Axl, alone, against the very institution that was supposed to be backing him the whole way through. Number 5. This became, by a wide margin, the most expensive rock album ever recorded. Here's the thing about this one. It's not a single event with a date attached to it. It's a number, and the number is the whole story. Between the mid-1990s and 2008, reports put the total cost of making Chinese democracy somewhere north of $13 million, with some later estimates going even higher once you factor in everything. The rotating cast of producers who came and went over the years. The rented studio gear, the dozens of musicians who passed through the sessions, and just years and years of continuously paid studio time with no finish line in sight. One person who actually worked the business side of the album at one point described going through the budget line by line and finding, in his own words, an astronomical amount of money being spent just on rented equipment alone, not songs. Not performances, rented gear. And I remember exactly what it felt like when I first learned the real total. It wasn't just, oh, that's an expensive record. It recalibrated the whole story for me. This wasn't an album with a big budget. This was, functionally, the most expensive single bet in the history of the genre. A bet that one man's vision, given truly unlimited time and truly unlimited money, would eventually produce something worth all of it. Here's the part that I think gets lost in the jokes about this album's cost. Every dollar of that 13 million plus wasn't waste in the way people like to frame it. It was years of a perfectionist refusing to compromise, played out in real studio invoices, real session fees, real rented rooms sitting empty while decisions got made and unmade. The best rock music doesn't ask permission to get inside you. It just does. But this album asked its own record label for permission over and over for more than a decade, and burned through more money doing it than almost anything else in the history of the genre. And I know how that sounds, but stay with me, because the next one is where the outside world finally starts fighting back. Number 4. The exclusive Best Buy deal that was supposed to be a triumph, and quietly became a cautionary tale.
Let's drink to the hard-working people.
When the album finally actually came out in November 2008, after everything we've already been through on this list, it wasn't sold everywhere the way a normal major release would be.
Roses.
It was released through an exclusive deal with Best Buy, the electronics retailer, not a record store, not a normal music outlet. And that same year, AC/DC ran almost the identical playbook with Walmart for their album Black Ice. 2 legendary rock bands, 2 exclusive retail deals, released in the same calendar year. And the comparison between them became its own story in the industry press. Here's what I mean. Walmart reportedly built full AC/DC merchandise sections in stores, put band shirts and their rock band video game front and center, and even had an AC/DC branded tour bus driving around select cities to build buzz ahead of release. Angus Young did interviews everywhere he could. Best Buy, by comparison, reportedly housed Chinese democracy in small cardboard kiosks, and Axl, notoriously, did almost no promotional interviews at all around the release. Practically none. And I know you have felt a version of this before, when you can look at 2 nearly identical situations and immediately tell which one had someone actually fighting for it and which one didn't. That's what this comparison exposed. Black Ice sold enormously well off the back of that promotion. Chinese Democracy, despite debuting at number 3 on the Billboard 200 and eventually going platinum, still underperformed against the industry's own sky-high expectations for what had been called the most anticipated album in rock history. Exclusive retail deals were being treated, at that exact moment in the industry, as the future of how albums would get released. Guns N' Roses and AC/DC ran essentially the same experiment, in the same year, through 2 different retail giants, and the results told the whole business 2 very different stories about what actually moves a record off the shelf. Hype alone, or somebody in the room actually fighting to sell it. Number 3. The FBI got involved because a blogger heard the album before you did. This is the one that always gets people. Every single time I tell this story to someone who doesn't already know it, they stop me halfway through and make me repeat it. In June 2008, a music blogger named Kevin Cogill, who went by the name Squirrel online, got his hands on 9 unreleased tracks from Chinese Democracy, tracks that were still years away from any official announcement, and streamed them on his website, Antiquiet. The traffic crashed his own servers within about 10 minutes. He took the tracks down almost immediately once he realized what was happening. That was not the end of it, not even close. 2 months later, in August 2008, the FBI showed up at his home in Los Angeles and arrested him. According to Cogill's own later account of the arrest, Federal agents came in with, in his words, at least 6 handguns pointed at him from at least 6 different angles. For posting 9 songs on a blog. Guns N' Roses put out a statement at the time saying they didn't condone what he'd done, but that their real interest was in tracking down the original source of the leak, not necessarily punishing the person who shared it. 9 songs, a blog post that was up for less than a day, and a full federal investigation, an armed arrest at someone's home, and a case that dragged through the courts for the better part of a year. Some of you just smiled reading that, and I know exactly why, because I did the same thing when I found this detail. The judge presiding over the case actually said on the record that he didn't understand why this hadn't just been handled as a simple summons instead of an armed arrest. Cogill eventually pleaded guilty to a single misdemeanor and received probation along with 2 months of house arrest. Nine songs. Federal agents. That's not really a leak story anymore at that point. That's the music industry treating a single blog post like a genuine act of war. Because by 2008, after everything that had already gone into this album, it had become something worth protecting at almost any cost, financial or otherwise. Number 2. A soda company tried to celebrate the album and ended up getting threatened with a lawsuit. I love this part because out of everything on this list, this is the most absurd by far, and every bit of it is completely true. In March 2008, Dr. Pepper announced a promotion built entirely around the running joke of this album's endless delays. If Guns N' Roses actually released Chinese Democracy before the end of that year, everyone in America, everyone, except, very pointedly, former members Slash and Buckethead, would receive a free can of Dr. Pepper. It was a joke at the band's expense and everybody involved knew it, including Axl himself, who reportedly expressed public support for the promotion when it was first announced. And then, against all odds, the album actually came out. On release day, November 23, 2008, Dr. Pepper tried to make good on their promise. They put up a coupon page on their website, gave people a tight 24-hour window to claim it, and the site crashed almost instantly under the sheer volume of traffic. They extended the offer once, set up a toll-free phone line to help, and that line also couldn't handle the volume of calls coming in. Here's the part that still makes me laugh, honestly. Axl's own lawyers then sent Dr. Pepper a formal legal letter, a real one, on record, calling the entire promotion an unmitigated disaster which defrauded consumers, accusing the company of unauthorized use of the band's publicity rights, and demanding full-page apology advertisements be printed in the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, the New York Times, and the LA Times. Dr. Pepper's response was essentially, "We were doing something nice for your band, and you're threatening to sue us over how it went." No formal lawsuit ever actually got filed in the end. But think about what led up to this moment. A company tried to do the band a genuine, free, well-intentioned favor. And the band's response was to threaten legal action over the execution of that favor. That's not a rock band being difficult for the sake of it. That's over a decade of accumulated paranoia about this album finally boiling over onto the one company in this entire story that meant no harm at all. And I know you've felt a version of this before, when the smallest, most well-meaning gesture lands completely wrong because of everything that happened before it ever showed up. The specific details are always different. The feeling underneath it never is. Number 1. The country the album was named after tried to ban it. You know the song. We all know this one, or at least the title. It's the phrase that outlived the album's own delays and became a punchline before it ever became a lyric. But sit with me for a minute, because where this actually went is a story that makes it sound completely different on the other side of it. In a good way. In a genuinely wild way. When Chinese Democracy dropped in November 2008, Geffen Records reportedly didn't even expect to get approval to distribute the album in mainland China in the first place. And they were right not to expect it. The album was effectively banned there, and a state-run media outlet denounced it, without even naming the band or Axl Rose directly, as part of what it called a Western plot to, in its own words, grasp and control the world using democracy as a pawn. I need to tell you something about this. The first time I heard this and I could not explain it, I actually thought I'd misread it. An entire national government, formally, in print, through state media, treating a Guns N' Roses record as a genuine geopolitical threat worth publicly denouncing. Over an album that took so unbelievably long to make that some fans had spent years joking it should have just been called Chinese Democracy eventually. And here's what gets me. Every single time I come back to this story and lay the whole thing out from start to finish, this album started as a fight with a record label over money. It became a fight with a leaker, a soda company, a retail chain, a departing guitarist's contract, a fired manager, and it ended, at the very top of this list, as a fight with an actual government. Ten stops on this countdown, and every single one of them is the same story wearing a different uniform. One man's decade-long refusal to compromise, colliding again and again with every single system that exists to make music move faster than that. You can't always explain why a record matters this much. But by the time this one finally actually came out, an entire planet's worth of institutions had already tried to stop it, slow it down, sue somebody over it, or officially condemn it. And it still came out anyway. That's the part I think about every single time this one comes on.